Just asking.
Okay, good afternoon. The August 7th, 2025 meeting of the Charter Authorization Panel is called to order. I'd like to welcome everyone to the Arkansas Department of Education auditorium and ask that you please silence all your electronic devices. The goal is to facilitate a fair and responsible hearing. So for the record, I ask each person speaking to please state your name and title each time you speak into the microphone. I ask that you continue to speak clearly in the microphone throughout the presentation for the benefit of the panel, the audience, and the viewing audience. This meeting is being live streamed and recorded, and a transcript of the meeting will be posted on the DESI website. So again, good afternoon to everyone. Good afternoon to our panel members. I think we're all here. Are there any panel members joining online today? Yes, Ms. Newton's online. Okay, so here in person and online. So first on our agenda today, are there any changes to our agenda? So I'm gonna ask panel members first, after review of the agenda for today, are there any recommended revisions to the agenda, or do I have a motion to accept it as it is written?
I move we accept the agenda as presented.
I second.
There is a motion by Mr. Baldwin, a second by Dr. Shears. Okay. Is there any discussion on the motion? Okay. Hearing none. All those in favor indicate by saying aye.
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 Okay. Any opposed by nay? Okay. Ayes have it. Motion passes. All right. Next, Daniel Schultz from ADE Legal, if you will please come forward and provide an overview of the procedures for today's action agenda.
Thank you, ladies and gentlemen. Pleasure to be with you again. As I suspect you know as well, we'll have our standard procedures are that all persons, with the exception of our attorneys that represent parties who intend to provide testimony, will be sworn. The charter applicant or the charter, existing charter wishing to modify their charter would have 20 minutes to present their case in chief. The chair may grant additional time if necessary. Parties opposed to the application or the proposed action would also have 20 minutes collectively, with additional time again at the discretion of the chair. The charter or the applicant shall have 5 minutes of rebuttal. This presentation opportunity would exist with the charter members to ask questions in addition to the presentation. In addition, written comments can be submitted.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, so first item on our action agenda is open enrollment charter school academies of math and science. Mr. Freddie Scott is going to come forward and give us an overview of the amendment request.
Good afternoon, panel. Freddie Scott, Office of School Choice and Parent Empowerment. The first action item involves a submitted request to amend their charter of academies of math and science. There are 3 elements to that request. One is to add a new location in Fort Smith. The second is to increase the enrollment by 810 to account for the increase. The third one involves acceptance of the existing waivers from AMS Little Rock. The very first one I mentioned involves a start date of either school year 26-27 or 27-28, depending upon location decisions. Here before us from AMS is Ms. Brandy Adams, the COO of AMS Impact, Christina Winters, Superintendent AMS Impact, and joining this team remotely is Eric Greenberg, CEO, AMS Schools, Katie Ditterman, CFO, AMS Impact, Robert Biggs, CIO, AMS Schools, and Zachary Larison, Chief of Staff, AMS Impact.
Thank you. Okay, before we get started, all those that are going to be giving testimony today on behalf of Academies of Math and Science, please stand and raise your right hand. That also includes those that are online. Do you swear that the testimony or statement you are about to give is the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth? Okay, thank you.
Yes.
All right, great.
Yes.
You may begin your presentation. Thanks.
Good morning.
Morning.
I believe we have
Or
a
afternoon, yeah.
Oh,
We're so used to morning. That's okay.
you're right.
You're good. You're
You
good.
are. I believe we have a PowerPoint to go. There we go. And hopefully I can operate. There we go. Okay. Good morning. So we're excited to be here with you again. I was just here recently and had the opportunity to share information about AMS and brag about it, and I'm here to do it again. Looking forward to walking through this all with you. So, as shared before, AMS has really focused in on some very key strategies, but they're all driven by our mission and vision. So our vision is to provide the best education and the best environment for the students enrolled in AMS schools. And we know that we've provided the best education by achieving A-rated schools, so that's mentioned on the slide. So that's sort of our measurement tool to know we're hitting that piece of the vision. And we know that we're providing the best environment when our schools are fully enrolled and fully staffed, because they're places that kids want to attend and teachers want to work. We're driven by important values that we talk about all of the time. We do whatever it takes. We act with honor, and we're always vulnerable, candid, and kind. And so these are the things that drive what we do. Most importantly, though, we are very committed to offering community schools. We talk about that over and over and over. And I'm on a little first day of school high. Our Little Rock campus had our first day of school today. Ms. Winters and I had the opportunity to be there this morning. And it was an unbelievable start to the school year. So positive, so many smiling kids. Not to brag, but the Chick-fil-A cow was there taking pictures. So we do have a picture, the two of us with the Chick-fil-A cow. We got pretty excited. There was a wonderful back-to-school night this past Saturday. It was flooded with families. They bring their grandparents. You know, it's just like a family event, just a positive vibe there. We're so excited for their second year. And it was really fun walking around the classrooms today and seeing all the returning staff, and I was also able to recognize some students, so great morning. We've also been, so community school, it's very evident that's in place there. We've been very, very fortunate to spend the last 3 days in Blytheville, and I'm working on saying it correctly because I was saying Blytheville, and that's wrong. It's Blytheville, and we've been up there for the past 3 days, and we have been having a wonderful time. That community, talk about ready for a community hub school. They are primed. We've been at the Lions Club for lunch. We have been meeting with teachers. It has just been a fantastic week, and so it just sort of reinvigorates our need for community schools and making that happen for everybody. So talking about Fort Smith. So why Fort Smith? A couple of just data points that this slide points out, but I'll highlight for you. For the 25 schools in that greater Fort Smith area, which is in that dark red circled area, of those 25 schools, 15 are D or F rated schools. right? So over 60% of their schools are failing. Their free and reduced lunch rates are also noted on the map on the right. Most of their schools also are in high need areas. And so when we look at Fort Smith as a town, it's our kind of place. We love to go to places that have high need, both in from an economic standpoint and from an academic standpoint. So Fort Smith also is not charter heavy. They don't have a lot of choice in the area. And so we think that this is an area that is prime and ready for an AMS school. We were able to visit Fort Smith when we were out there, when we were here a couple of months ago. We went and spoke to a lot of community members when we were there, ate at some pretty decent restaurants, and the people there also, you know, just when you talk to them anecdotally, are ready for some more choice. So just go on to the next slide. So when we're looking for facility selection, we pull a lot of data. We get really nerdy about it, y'all. And so these are just a few points that we've pulled, just showing density in the area. We believe that we know there are plenty of students in the area we're looking at. And so for that reason, we're sort of focusing in on that circled part on the map. So this is where it gets extra interesting. We've been able to identify 2 potential sites. So I'd like to walk you through both of those options and kind of give you the pros and the cons. I'm not gonna lie, I have a favorite. I'm wondering if you can tell when I'm done, but we'll see. Okay, so proposed location number 1. This is on Towson Road, and this, the map above in the blue area shows a 10-minute drive time from that site. So as you can see, it hits a majority of the town or the city, and also is in that where that circled area was of density and need. So this site is currently, we visited that when we were up there, currently a vacant lot, and so this would allow us to build a brand new building. Ground up, full facilities, gym, field. The little rendering on the lower half there kind of shows what we're thinking about. But it's on a major highway, has a lot of visibility, and we believe that the capacity there would allow us to serve around 810 students. Since it's a new build, however, that site wouldn't be available or able to, have students in it until the fall of 2027. So that's the kind of big difference there. 810 kids is what we're expecting there, and fall of 2027. Beautiful area. There's a gorgeous community right behind it that we could, pull kids from. There's woods behind it. It just is very attractive for sure. Proposed location number 2 is actually on the site of a former Fort Smith school called Trustee Elementary that was closed in 2004. They say it's due to low enrollment, and they also had some building issues. It's an old building. I mean, Google it, it's adorable, but it's old. So similar to the other location, this map up above shows the blue area is the 10-minute drive time that would allow students to come. You can see when you compare that to the density map below, that area is definitely prime, lots of density there. And then when you take a peek at where those schools in the upper map are located around the site where the star is, it's D, 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 D. They're in a academic desert right there. So the other neat thing about Trustee is that there's already a community there that has ties to that building. It reminds me so much of our Little Rock campus. We renovated and revitalized David O'Dodd, and it's been so fun to have families come to that campus and be amazed at how it looks now and say, like, I went to school here, and, bring their kids and their grandkids. It's just so fun. I love old things, and so I think it would be so cool to bring back that school to its original state and give those people something to be proud of in that area. So we know there's displaced kids that are probably ready to come back, and we'd love to, make that an option. Now, since that is an existing school that just needs tenant improvements and a little bit of work, that one we do believe would be available in fall of 2026. So that's a full school year earlier than the Towson option. So it also at a lower cost too, because we're not doing a ground up option. So additionally, this campus would serve around 650 students. So it's also a smaller student body. So, as we think about Fort Smith and the need just for charter options in general, and also the need to have community-based schools as an option as well, and given that there's 2 whole sites, which sometimes that's the hardest part about getting a charter up and running, is identifying a site, and we've got 2 whole options. So a lot to consider, but we're really excited about the possibility of bringing an AMS school to Fort Smith. So I'm going to pass it off to, I guess I'll do the clicker to Katie online and for the financials.
Hi, good afternoon. My name is Katie Dieterman. I am the Chief Financial Officer for AMS Schools, and I am here today to walk through the financials for the Fort Smith project. The first slide you see here is the 5-year projection for the Fort Smith project. This assumes the new build option, the more expensive of the 2 options, just to give some clarity. The first section has the assumptions that we used for the budget process, ranging from fiscal year 28 to fiscal year 32. You can see the number of projected students is 753, which is 93% of the total capacity of 810. It also assumes a 74% free and reduced lunch percentage, which drives the revenue assumptions beneath it. Moving out to the 5 years, the assumption becomes a 1.5% inflation adjustment. So you see those categories change slightly over the 5-year projection, and that's that inflationary adjustment. Overall, for fiscal year 28, we are assuming a debt service of $1.462 million, which is 6.5% on a $22.5 million project, and a year-end net asset increase of $263,658, which is approximately a 3% margin of revenues, and that 3% remains stable throughout the entire 5-year projection. The largest expenses naturally to this budget is salaries and benefits for the employees within the 57 staff you see there, and they equate to about 46% of the total budget. Next slide, please. This slide is a combination of our Fort Smith location for fiscal year 28, same budget as on the previous slide, combined with our current Little Rock location, also the fiscal year 28 budget, in an effort to consolidate those 2 budgets and present them in a holistic way. The Fort Smith still assumes the 753 students, and Little Rock assumes 650 students. So a little bit different in capacity there between the 2 buildings. So you'll notice that the revenues are adjusted accordingly for that difference in capacity. So the total revenues for both schools combined is 16 million, with expenses coming in at 15.7, with a net increased assets of 308,000, or 2% of revenue. Said differently, salaries and benefits account for approximately 45% of that budget, as well as the debt service coming in around 22% of that budget. We're expecting Fort Smith to have, as you can see here, a little bit of a greater margin than the Little Rock School, and the reason for that is, number one, due to the enrollment difference and the capacity difference, as well as due to the lower debt service on this project. because the project cost is a bit less than the Little Rock project. Next slide. And this is my final slide, which specifically speaks to AMS Little Rock and the history we've had here for this school year, and the initial budget presented at charter application time, as well as the most recent projection presented during the amendment request, as well as our current year, fiscal 25, where we truly expect to be. So the biggest, I'll just walk through the biggest variances from the initial charter app was we did receive a CSP grant of 1.15 million, which was not included in the initial charter application. So increasing the revenues by that would get revenues to 6.3 million in that initial charter application budget, which brings it right in line with where we're ending the school year, expecting to be around 6.4 million in revenues. We are expecting a net loss of 318,000 on this fiscal year 25 school year, largely due to salary and benefits coming in a little higher than we had projected. And we did have some initial misses on supply expenses that come along with starting a new school, as well as some special education programmatic cost misses as far as what those related service providers, and perhaps like a staffing issue that caused a contractor teacher as opposed to an employee teacher. So the variance in that cost to the school caused a few misses there. And that is pretty much my presentation on these slides, but I'm happy to answer any questions related to the slides now or at the end of the presentation.
How would you prefer that, at the end? Okay. Good afternoon. I'm Christina Winters, Superintendent for AMS. So as Brandy mentioned, AMS schools, we have been opening schools in high-need communities for over 20 years now. And one thing that we know for sure is we know it's hard. We know how hard it will be, and we are here to do the hard things. We actually thrive on doing the hard things. And we know that the first thing we need to start with is building that culture and pride, which is why I think Brandy's love of the trustee school is going into those schools that we can revitalize and build that community. So once we build that community and that pride, we have to make that shift as quick as possible to academic excellence. And so I kind of want to talk to you today about the academics for Little Rock and where that is looking. So this first slide that you're seeing, this is the very start of the school year, and it is our Atlas screener for our K-3. So a screener at the beginning of the year to see how did they come in when they started the school year for us. We're going to use this information to build out groups and interventions and reteach, and so this initial data is really important. What you'll see in these two slides is scholars that are green are considered ready. Scholars that are yellow are considered at risk. So when students came to us, this is exactly what we anticipated. They were very, very in high needs, and especially if you look at that third grade. With literacy, we're looking at over, 96% of them not coming in at a ready state. So our work was definitely in front of us. And again, we come into these communities prepared for that. On the other side, you'll also see the math screener, which gave us a lot of excitement and hope because much more students there with some mathematical literacy. But as we know, the older kids get, the tests are heavily word problem. So kids coming in with literacy skills gives them that initial just struggle of being able to approach those math questions. This next slide that you have in front of you is comparing our first interim assessment, again, for the 3rd through 8th grade scholars now. So how did they come in? The darker lines are going to be our students. The lighter blue is going to be the average of the state. So across the board, you're going to see that our Little Rock students came to our AMS campus significantly lower than the state average. we were so far behind when we got that data, and to be honest, that's the way we like it. That's what we want to do. We want to come to those communities and make a difference. And I want to just point out in specifically, if you look at 3rd, 5th, 7th grade, that is 1 or 2 students out of the entire population. So approximately 60 to 70 scholars per grade level, 1 of them came in proficient on that grade level. So again, we were just really up against it in that community, which shows how important it was for us to revitalize that area. Next slide is where did we end up? Okay, so if you look at that lightest gray, again, that is that initial interim assessment data that I showed you. The darker gray is the assessment that they would have taken in the mid-year. We did see a dip on some of those. Sometimes it is, it's winter break, it's Christmas time coming up, so oftentimes we do see those dips at the mid-year. But the darker line is where did we end up? I will be incredibly transparent that we did not end up where we wanted to. We are 10 to 15% behind what the state average performs. But when we look at this graph, we are seeing that from the light gray to the end of the year in the maroon, we had significant gains across almost every single one of the grade levels. So we're really, really proud of the work that happened over there, although we are not where we want to be. Next slide is again looking at just all the grade levels combined and what it showed at the end of year Atlas summative assessment. And what it shows you is what we want to see is from the top where it says Atlas interim mathematics, that is at the beginning, and then the arrow going over. When you're in education, yes, we always want to see our kids in that highest dark green and blue. We want them proficient and highly proficient. We want that. However, what we want the most is to take the groups of scholars that are in that yellow, those kids that just aren't there yet, and we want to minimize that by the end of the year. We want less kids in the yellow and more shifting over to that light green. When that happens, it tells us that the kids are they're ready to learn. They're growing, and they're no longer considered in that at risk, and they're primed to, if they stay with us and they continue to learn with our systems, that we will get them to that proficiency level. So again, from the math beginning year, end of year, and again, ELA from the beginning and end of year, we saw exactly what we wanted to see, which was a decrease in those kids in the yellow. Next, just want to briefly touch on our subpopulation. So the top is our English language learners in the state. You can see when they joined our school at the beginning of the year, 56% of them were not in the proficient level. They were in emerging, 56% of them. And we had none of our kids in that level at the proficient mark. And as we then follow the arrow over, by the end of the year, massive decreases in that red. So many of a high percentage moving over to that yellow, and we were really excited that 4 of our kids who were not performing proficient as English language learners are now proficient by the end of the year. So great growth there. SPED, and we did not have as much growth as we would like to see. As Katie actually mentioned, in the financial part, we did have some struggles getting special education teachers. We did have to contract quite a few times to get teachers in there, but we were committed to spending the funds in order to ensure that our scholars received that extra time that they deserved, and that was in their IEP. So although we did not see huge gains in our SPED, math, and ELA, we did see gains. So about 5% growth in both of those. And so as you see this, sometimes we might get a little, what do we do next, right? We're celebrating the growth, but we need to get to the proficient. So we know that we have procedures, and we know how to get our scholars there. So what I want to talk about is that we've done this before. We have campuses in Arizona, and again, just like here, we open them in high needs areas, and we come into those communities and we do find struggling scholars. When they are in our community schools and we are keeping our teachers and we're growing those students year after year, growth comes with it. Do we need to stop?
That's okay. I gave you an additional, like,
Oh,
5
okay.
minutes, that's fine. So you're like, if you could, like, the next 2 minutes, start to wrap up?
I can.
Yeah, 'cause
This is my
I
last
think
slide.
I don't think there's anybody in opposition, so
Okay.
I gave you an additional 5,
Okay.
but you're, like, have 2 more minutes.
You're like, Miss Winters, bring it down a
No,
notch.
no, you're fine. That's
This
no,
is my favorite.
no.
This is my favorite slide. Let me bring it home.
No,
Okay.
we'll have questions, and if there's something
Okay.
that you missed,
I'm so sorry.
refer back to it, you're free to do
Okay.
that.
Okay. So
Thanks.
as you can see, this is our report card system. So we're looking at that A through F letter grade system in Arizona as well. So our Peoria Advanced Campus is a great example of how it can happen. In 2022, they received 59 points out of 100. That is just barely a point or two, half a point, I believe, above a D-rated school. Definitely not where we wanted to be. So we had to get strong leadership in there. We needed to have the right people, the right processes, and then the product, obviously, is academic excellence. And the moment we made that shift, we went from just barely skating out of that D to a very high level A. And that's been able to be maintained throughout the last 3 years. So we have the formula, we know how to get there, but we're also very realistic about where we start when we come into these communities and the work that has to be ahead of us. And I am proud to say that not only are they A's 3 years in a row, but they are in the final part of the nomination state for being a National Blue Ribbon Award winner. So we're really super proud of that. Gives us the confidence that we know that we can continue to do this, not only in Arizona, but in Arkansas, and I just want to say, across the state, the students grew at about a 2 to 4% on the Atlas. High FRL areas did not. They showed very, very little growth. And it is not just an AMS. We are here to partner with Arkansas to close that disparity gap. Those kids deserve better, and we cannot continue to allow those high FRLs to progress at that level. So we want to partner with you and make that happen in Fort Smith. I am going to pass it over to our CEO, Eric, to wrap it up or not. Your call.
Yes, if he wants to wrap it up, that's fine.
Go ahead, Eric.
Good afternoon, everyone. Eric Greenberg, CEO for AMS Schools. Apologies that we can't be there in person with you today. I know we're at time. Just want to chat real fast that our organization of a little over 70 strong here in Arizona is very excited and ready to make a significant investment in leadership talent in Arkansas to support Little Rock, to support the work that we're doing for the Blytheville School District, as well as our options at Fort Smith. The reason why we have the urgency is, quite frankly, we do not want to see a trustee school that has been getting inquiries to become a parking lot and part of a manufacturing plant there, in addition to the land that Brandy mentioned that took a significant drop in price. We are very much in love with Fort Smith and want to serve that community, hence a bit of an urgent need. If you go to the next slide, I just want to show you the investment that we want to make in Arkansas with Arkansas-based employees of AMS schools. We do currently have posted an executive director position.
Okay.
We do have posted an executive director position over the course of the next year before the school opens, plan to hire an additional 4 leadership positions that will serve to provide leadership, service, and support to the schools that we have. I'll wrap it up. We'll kind of skip the next slide, Brandy, if you want to go to the very last one, and just, again, want to thank the CAP for the continued support of AMS schools as we've come into Arkansas. Our goal was to build a network as soon as we possibly can to provide the necessary leadership and support to the schools there that we can support the communities that we mentioned. So again, my thanks to each of you, and we're happy to answer any questions that you might have.
Okay. Thank you. So before we go to any questions, if we can have Mr. Schultz come forward from legal to let us know if there's any concerns about the amendment request.
Thank you, Madam Chair. No concerns. Daniel Schultz, legal. Thank you, Madam Chair. No concerns.
Okay, thank you. Okay, so we'll start with our panel members. Questions, Ms. Stewart?
Yes, so just a couple of questions. First, thank you all for being here and for the expansive presentation. I appreciate all the background and information that y'all shared today. One of the things that hit me out of the gate is 810. That's a big number. Thinking about that in the area that you're looking to serve, Can you talk to us just a minute about how you're doing that recruitment piece? And then wrapped into that, also about staffing.
Yeah, so Brandy Adams, COO. 810, it does sound like a big number. It's kind of funny for us. We have schools that are in the 1,300 range. So for us, 810 is kind of a medium-sized school. But we have had a lot of success in Arkansas with our marketing tactics. We were just here recently to ask for an enrollment cap increase at our Little Rock school, and that same, thought was brought up. I am excited to tell you that we actually exceeded our expectations for Little Rock this year. This morning we had 675 students enrolled, and so we are confident in our marketing skills and believe we can bring those same tactics to the area, in addition to, again, just sort of leaning on that community school idea. Quite frankly, you could probably tell that my preference was...
They're really good. I like them.
Sorry. The Trustee Elementary School is the one that I'm particularly excited about. And I know, I'm sorry, I'm so transparent. But so I just think, I really believe that will help us, because there is that sort of community pride in that school, to revitalize it. So I think that's another tactic that we'll bring, to the campus. And when we look at, again, that density and the number of students that they don't really have a choice but to attend a D or F-rated school, we think we'll be able to pull a lot of the students that are attending those lower grade schools. Staffing, always a concern. I will say we have felt a shift recently in the staffing environment. I think for lots of different reasons that I won't go into, but this year we were able to open our schools fully enrolled, or fully staffed, and that's not been something we've been able to do in the last few years. So we're excited about that. We have, to Eric's point, a large network of 70 individuals that work in our network office. We have a whole talent acquisition team that is all they do is do staffing for the schools. And then we really hope that ultimately our name and our reputation helps get some folks to move over with us. And they're excited about what we're doing and excited to be a part of the community. Do you have more? She said 1 minute, so I'll... You said 1 minute? Oh man, I'll talk forever. I'm sorry. Okay.
No, I didn't.
Okay.
So, no, there is not a time limit on your responses nor to questions. Just when you're giving your presentation, when you're giving your presentations, you have a 20-minute limit. And so you guys had reached your 20 minutes, and because there wasn't opposition, I gave you an additional 5, and then you were at the 2-minute mark on your extra 5 minutes, which is why I kind of prompted you. So
we get excited.
Yeah, there is no limit on your responses, nor are there limits on the questions that come. Yeah. Sorry for the confusion.
Can I add then? Hi, Christina Winter, Superintendent EMS. One thing that we're really proud about here, especially, we did open fully staffed, but we also did not lose teachers last year. We only, I believe the retention, we had 2 teachers leave last year. So, and that is because we pour into them. We do have priorities of having fully enrolled and having our teachers and fully staffed and high A-rated, but we also have a 4th priority of developing our teachers. So training and development of not only our teachers, but also our leaders. So we have directors and principal coaches that work alongside, and we know that when people are feeling success and feeling supported and growing, they want to stay. And that also snowballs into academics. If the teachers are there, continuing to grow, that's how we see those A's. So the school that I showed you, Peoria Advanced, same exact retention numbers as our Little Rock campus had. So we're expecting to see the same results.
Wonderful. Hats off on the retention. That's fantastic. One other thing, and I definitely want to leave room for my colleagues to ask all of their questions as well.
Go ahead.
But thinking about if you're assuming literacy and math may mirror Little Rock and what you began with in Little Rock. What kinds of things are you doing on the onset, kind of out of the gate, thinking about Fort Smith and some of those barriers, if you will, that you might have hit at
Right.
the beginning?
Christina Winter, Superintendent, AMS. So we have like Brandy and Eric have mentioned, we have a robust academic team back in Arizona. And so they have spent all last year in the summer building out standards-based frameworks so that our teachers are teaching to the standards. We love that Arkansas recommends the high-quality curriculum, and we, of course, have selected that. But it's not enough to open a textbook and just teach from that. We have to make sure that we're teaching to the standards, and not just to the standard, but hitting the level of depth of knowledge that the standard is asking us to. And we are not going to do that by simply opening a textbook and talking to kids, right? And so we have developed those frameworks that are standards-based that go alongside using that curriculum as our resource. We're training our teachers. We have already done new teacher trainings, and we develop those for the state, looking at what will our teachers need, how can we continue to grow, and put that academics in place. We also look at ways, depending on the area, right? We take that first data that comes in for those interims, and we develop the reteaches, the intervention times, and the small groups, as well as offering after-school programs. We have clubs, tutoring, and sports, and when there is a high expectation that you achieve first to go to a club or to go to a sport, that also is in place. So many different components all feed into the academic achievement and supporting it. It's not, we never see it as separate entities of operations and academics.
Okay, awesome. And I love that you mentioned high quality instructional materials.
Yep.
So excellent. That's music to our ears, I think. Last but not least, so you mentioned supports and instructional support. So when you're talking about, you mentioned special education, you mentioned bringing kiddos up from very low literacy rates. What do those additional supports look like?
So we were able, again, do I have to say my name again? No. Christina Winter, Superintendent. We were able this year to, again, be fully staffed with our special education department, and we even invested in bringing on a coordinator level to ensure that they are being managed and supported and growing as well. And so we have to be able to pour into that, bring in additional intervention materials and programs, but we don't do that without getting to know our students. So that's why these first 10 days are so important, to go in there and assess, get to know them, and see. We want to make sure that we pull off that list, but we're pulling the right items that are going to grow, as well as we also offer a self-contained opportunities, our class as well. So if students we want to have them in the general classroom as much as possible, but if they need to be in a self-contained situation, we have a high qualified teacher, and we have paraprofessionals in there to support. It is not a room for babysitting. We believe that all children are capable of success, no exceptions, and those students are one of them. So, and we also have the dyslexia and our EL coordinator. Our sub-pops are very important to us. Right now, it's general. It's tier 1 though, right? We have to get in there with all kids. So we are making sure that our teachers have the science of reading, and we are just pouring as much training and support in there so we don't let them. Oftentimes teachers find out how they're doing when the test happens in December, or at the end of the year, or when they get eval'd later. We are in classrooms every single day. It's an expectation. And they are getting feedback in the moment so that they can continue to grow. Because if they're not growing, really it doesn't matter. If they're not growing, the kids won't. So we pour into those teachers first so that they can overflow into our kids.
So that was going to be my last question. One more.
Okay.
Teacher licensure. So thinking about what you were mentioning regarding your staff, what does that look like?
Yep. We support the teacher licensure pathways. So again, it depends on what the staff is, and then we'll develop those plans together. We also have that in Arizona. I think we have 25 open classrooms in Arizona, so we are definitely having to have that where a lot of our teachers are not licensed, and we do have some teachers here as well. So we create the pathways, we work together. We are even in Blytheville right now working with the community college, and that's the goal. But we also know that going to college and getting your licensure doesn't automatically make you a great teacher. We are really committed to, if they are there and they're committed, we want to grow them and put everything we can to get them to that licensure.
Awesome. Thank you. I'll let my colleagues have some time.
You're
Thank
fine.
you.
You're fine. Dr. Bacon?
Thank you. The first thing I wanted to say is congratulations on the enrollment. I think we can talk about a lot of issues, and I have some questions about specific things. But if you have schools where parents are wanting to send their children and they want to keep sending their children, I think that's the biggest important thing, is that we want people to feel like they have quality options and that those options are meeting their needs. So I love that your enrollment was what you said it was today. And I also appreciate the transparency and reflection on academic performance. As you said, it's certainly not where you would want it to be and not where we would expect to see it moving forward. I'd be really curious, just drilling down into it, 7th and 8th grade, I don't really see growth at all, 7th and 8th grade, and there's something weird about your 7th grade data, because at every subject, ELA, math, reading, 3.6% are level 3 and 0 level 4. It's the exact same percentage, which seems odd.
Yep.
But talk to me about 7th and 8th grade, your reflection on that.
Yeah, Christina Winters, superintendent. When we got that initial data out the gate of 7th grade, it was jarring. And it was, what do we do? I think I mentioned this, but we had one 7th grader that was on grade level. And our average reading level in 7th grade was 2nd grade. And so right now, you're not going to see those. You cannot take a child that's not reading, on the 2nd grade, to be able to comprehend those questions at a 7th grade level. But what we're really committed to is diving in and meeting them where they are, growing them with the intervention programs, but also giving them access still to 7th grade opportunities. We're not going to keep 7th grade standards and learning and knowledge from them and say, oh, you're down here. And that's what we see a lot is holding people back. We want to give them access to that, but we have to make those growths. So again, what we want to see is the growth. Now, we didn't see a ton of growth in those grades. And I was the principal of our first school that we built from the ground up in a very similar community like this. And I had the same experience. You have to remember that those 7th and 8th grade students have been being failed, right? An adult has been failing them for year after year after year. And what we also found that was kind of new is in our Little Rock school, we had a lot of neighborhood pride. And so they came in not focusing on academics as much as they wanted to focus on each other in middle school. We had to do a lot of reset with parents, a lot of reset with behaviors and expectations. And oftentimes teachers and all adults think that we teach them how to raise their hand once or sit in their chair once and they're going to be able to do it. It's just like multiplication facts. We have to teach them social skills every single day, restorative practices and how to get along and how to engage with each other and show respect. And that was, to be fully transparent, a lot of what we were focused on in the middle school. I am excited to say that we have a brand new assistant principal working in that middle school, and she was a teacher of the year from a neighboring state, but she's very quality, and we brought her on because academic excellence is what she has exhibited in her past, and so I expect to see it different, and I want you guys to hold us accountable to that because those scores are not acceptable.
So to drill a little further, I know Ms. Stewart asked and you talked some about some intervention. What is going to look different in your 7th and 8th grade this year than it did last year specifically?
Yeah. So we actually expanded slightly because of the enrollment, and what that offered us was an opportunity to really stop and evaluate, do we have the right staff and the right teachers with the right commitment to serve these communities? And we were able to bring in some really high quality licensed teachers that are committed to being in these classrooms. We interviewed a little bit differently this year and made sure that the right people were in there. We spent the entire summer ensuring that procedures were in place. And when a classroom is managed with procedures and high expectations, that's when the academics happen. And I cannot tell you that that was happening every day in those 7th and 8th grade classrooms.
And you're feeling confident that that's going to be much improved this
I-
coming school year?
I
The school year
spent-
that started today.
Yeah, well, I mean, it looked great. Yeah, we're done.
Yeah.
Mic drop. I have spent a lot of time working either virtually or in Arkansas. We do not stay in Arizona. We are here, and in fact, I'm going to be in the state for the next 4 weeks, and I will be visiting, walking alongside there. I, as the superintendent or anybody on that campus, is free to stop and reset classrooms and have high expectations. So we really leaned in on how we trained up our admin this year. Last year, our admin started later than our training sessions, so she missed kind of all that. So it was a great reset summer, and I do expect it, and there's nothing, we won't accept anything else.
Right. And unfortunately, you don't have any sense of value-added growth yet from the state, I guess, to have a sense of how that's going to look. I'll be curious to see how that turns out.
Yeah.
The other area I really wanted to ask, and I don't know if this is for you guys or perhaps Eric, but there was mention, I know we kind of ran out of time, of the sort of this Arkansas-based in-state leadership team being developed. I'd love to hear more about that timeline. I think I heard Eric say that there was a posting maybe for this executive director, but what does that look like? You know, one of the things that I think, you know, when we talk about capacity, you have the Little Rock School that's growing. We're talking about a Fort Smith School in a year or two. We've got Blytheville that you're already on the ground up there. I'm very interested in what your Arkansas-based leadership looks like and where you're finding those people, what you're looking for, and really what that looks like to make sure that these communities understand you're invested for the long term and you're part of the community.
Yeah, Eric Greenberg, CEO, AMS Schools. I really appreciate you asking that question. One of the things when we first came to Arkansas in our communication with the APSRC and leaders at the state board and the Department of Education was we mentioned that we were going to be very aggressive with our expansion because we needed to grow a local team. We are a system, we are a network where we have to touch and feel the schools, we have to be present. And so one of the things that really affected a lot of us this last year is that we could not touch and feel and be present all the time at the Little Rock School. What these opportunities present our organization is the ability to hire now local leadership teams that will report directly to the network central office here in Arizona. The first one is a state executive director. This person will serve as what we would consider to be the superintendent of Arkansas, so provide leadership academically and from a school operations perspective with the performance of principals. This person will also serve as a liaison or a voice figure of AMS schools with you all at the CAP, as well as the Department of Education and others who are supporting the school, namely the Walton Family Foundation, the APSRC, et cetera. That is currently being sourced right now. We have quite a few number of candidates. I'd say about half of our resumes we received so far are leaders within the state of Arkansas, and the rest are outside of Arkansas. At this point, it's hard to tell you if that investment's going to be in Arkansas-based leadership or bringing in new leadership into the state of Arkansas. Regardless, we're excited to invest in Arkansas-based leadership, whether we're bringing them in from out of state or finding those within the state of Arkansas, giving them these opportunities and coaching and developing them to be high-performing leaders. After that, we're hiring director of operations, director of enrollment, and a director of curriculum. Those were our goal for those three positions are to have them in place by the opening of the new school, or I'm sorry, the next fall, regardless of the opening dates, so that we can provide additional support with e-schools and the enrollment procedures that we do. As Brady mentioned, we take enrollment very seriously. We have a very specific formula of how we enroll students. We do, with this many schools, we will require additional leadership on site to provide that level of support to the staff for our enrollment processes, procedures, and the formatting in which we do offer those programs. Next is that I mentioned, so Director of Operations will help with facilities, will help with the process of ordering supplies, the maintenance of the facilities, et cetera. Curriculum is, or whether we call it a Director of Curriculum or Director of Academics, we don't know yet. The role will kind of be the same. That person will then lead academics from a curriculum perspective, taking the curriculum, creating the pacing guides, the frameworks that then get pushed down. Under that person will be a curriculum coordinator. So between those two individuals, they will be in classrooms, they will performing professional development, they will be looking at data and helping the school leadership as well as the teachers understand where the kids are, providing more hands-on leadership. It also will provide us opportunity to hire additional finance employees. Those employees will most likely be here based in Arizona, but right now, as Katie has taken over, we do have folks right now who are solely dedicated to the state of Arkansas on the accounting side. So that's our vision right now. As I mentioned, it starts with the executive director. Our hope is to get that person hired within the next 30 days. And just real quick mention on Blytheville. Blytheville does have does have its own district level team. We will be staffing that team up so that Blytheville can support itself with the needed ancillary positions that we will then provide leadership to through the form of processes, procedures, and accountability. So we are excited. I'm really glad you asked the question because we do see this as an opportunity to add leadership to the state of Arkansas and invest in that human capital.
Thank you. So what I'm hearing you say is that by this time next year, most of this in-state leadership team should probably be on the ground and rolling.
Yeah, correct.
Something tells me this won't be the last time that you guys are in front of this panel in the next few years, and so I would appreciate, once those people are on the ground and maybe some of your local principals, we'd love to hear from local people that are leading the in-state effort as those people find their way into those positions. So thank you for that.
As much as we love being in front of you guys, our goal and hope is that you don't hear from us anymore. You hear from our Arkansas team.
That sounds wonderful. I have one more question, but I'm going to wait and see if another panel member asks it before I go there.
Mr. Baldwin?
Yes, thank you. Appreciate y'all's presentation. Very good, very informative. I'm going to ask a couple of questions, and I think I'm going to start with strategy and capacity to some degree, like Dr. Bacon did, and then I'm going to have some budget questions also. So in the strategy part, I'm trying to, or I just would like you all to talk to us a little bit about the strategy of Fort Smith. Why Fort Smith? Why not someplace else? And how did that decision, or how did that process start? And kind of work through that for us. And then also the Blytheville decision to step in there, which we appreciate, and thank you all for doing that. But that also, is going to take time and talent for that. So explain to us exactly what you're committed to in Blytheville, and is it the same people committed to that? Kind of, once again, just, capacity for things. And then also the Little Rock campus is still a brand new campus with a lot of stuff to do. And so just walk us through all that. One of the things I found out in banking is that probably the most dangerous time in an organization's life is when they're successful. And you can overcommit. I mean, when you're in trouble, you all batten down the hatches and work hard to get out of trouble. But success breeds a different type of challenge. So I'll just stop and maybe Eric can answer some of those.
Sure. Yeah, Eric Greenberg, CEO, AMS. I can't see on camera, but I believe that was you, Mr. Baldwin. I really appreciate that question. Quite bluntly, we decided to commit to Blytheville for two main reasons. Number one, again, when we chose Arkansas, we said we're going all in Arkansas. We wanted to be a part of what was happening at the state level of transforming education across the state. And so we can't do that passively. It's not the organization we are. If we're going to be there, we're going to be there. And so for us, it was purely a decision of ours to serve communities in Arkansas. Number two, it fits our mission. We want to serve high-need families, high-need communities. Blytheville is a location in which, if we didn't have this opportunity, we would have looked at for a charter school anyway, because the need of a good school. We know that the Blytheville opportunity is going to be very difficult. Again, bluntly, I mean, I can't say this, Blytheville allows us to build our network team. We need local leadership to do the growth and to accomplish the the goals that we have set out academically for these families. Blytheville, again, it fits our mission and it fits our ability to serve and help the families of Arkansas, but it also allows us to build up our leadership team quicker than if we were to just grow organically. Fort Smith is an area from right off the bat when prior to coming to you all a couple years ago to get a charter for Little Rock, we identified three cities that we are looking at in particular. Fort Smith was city number 2 that we had identified many years ago. As we've gotten to know the state of Arkansas and traveled to Fort Smith on a couple occasions with members of our team, number one, there's not a K-8 charter school in the town of Fort Smith. There are 2 charter schools. They're each serving kids over 9th grade and performing arts-based schools. So there doesn't exist currently a charter school serving K-8. That's a great opportunity for us. And going back to the question to Brandy about enrollment, we see that as a differentiator in addition to our normal marketing practices to attract families, because there isn't that option there for those folks. And so again, what we're looking at is how can we strategically place a team there so that we can touch all different aspects of the state. And as Dr. Bacon referred to, it's not the last time we'll be in front of you. We do have options that we're looking at for more expansion to serve families in some key areas. I hope this makes sense to the point you made about the most dangerous time is when an organization is being successful. We don't see ourselves as successful, if that makes sense. We set goals very high. We set very high expectations, knowing that it's going to take a long time to hit them, if not ever. But that's the drive that we create within our organization to keep improving. So especially coming off of our first year of Little Rock, there are so many aspects of that school we are so proud of and extremely grateful that that school and those students were able to accomplish, but it's not even nearly close. And so for us, the drive and the fire to continually improve is why we will continue to seek opportunities to serve families and will never be satisfied with whatever results come. And so that's and I appreciate that you directed that question to me, Mr. Baldwin, because that's on us as a leadership team to create that culture and maintain that culture of never being satisfied and to look at ourselves as always in need of improvement and that we're never really there. We love Fort Smith, we love Blytheville because it falls within our mission. We believe that we have the current leadership team and 70 some odd employees here to support it, but we're most excited about the leadership team we're going to build in Arkansas to not only support these schools, but be a part of the work that you all are doing to expand educational opportunities and success across the state.
Thank you for the answer. I'm not on the screen because my device provides feedback, so I don't want to hurt anybody's ears. Let me go to the budget and some financial questions. Maybe Katie could help me with those. And thank you for your presentation. I really appreciate a good CFO explaining numbers. So in looking at your options for your location, you have option 1, which would be to build a new building, and you would do that and I guess start in 2027 with that, which seems a bit aggressive to me, but I believe you could probably do that. And then option 2 is renovate an old building, which can be even harder than building a new building, depending on the old building and as you know, asbestos and HVAC issues and just the things that you find that you don't expect to find. So my question, I guess, on that would be, are you all working with someone in Fort Smith that's a real estate professional that's helping, or do you have an engineer, construction engineer type person that's helping you analyze, option A and option B, because the cost can be substantial either way?
Yeah, Eric Greenberg, CEO, AMS Schools. I'll take that one first and let Katie answer your budget questions. We've sent 2 general contractors to Trustee to take a look at it. One of them was the contractor we had, the Clark Contractors, who built our school here in Little Rock. They actually have done work within that school in the last 3 years, and so they know the bones of it really, really well. We asked both contractors completely independently to do a full tour with their engineers to look at the school, and then provide us with not an official budget's not the right word, a proposal, not an official proposal of what it would take to get the school with the guidelines that we told them of what we want, and that does include anywhere from a 7,500 to 10,000 square foot addition on the side of the school, in which we would increase classrooms by maybe 7. We're working with the local broker. Cooper and Gunn is the local broker there. So we sent 2 general contractors in. Both of them sent in proposals that were within 800K of each other. And so we felt very confident. What we do to that is we add on, obviously, escalators for contingency, because this is a new market and because Trustee is very similar to the project we did in Little Rock. We're adding additional contingency percentage on top of that to get to a number where we feel super comfortable. Again, having had the experience of doing a remodel in Little Rock, what we have been told is that the bones and the structure of Trustee is way better and secure than what we experienced in Little Rock. But to answer your question, we've sent 2 GCs into that school and asked them to submit proposals.
Okay, well, I'm glad you have professional folks helping. That's always a good thing. And it's helpful.
And local ones. They're local to Arkansas.
Yes. So moving into the budget that's in our package, and going back to the building cost, there's a line called building lease, and I think you all said that was, that you put the numbers in there as if you were going to build the building, which you said would be the higher numbers. And so I'm wondering, the $1,462,500, is that the, and I guess, so one question would be, are you all going to borrow the money to do this, or do you have it in working capital? And then is this basically the interest expense on that note, or is it other things too?
Hi, thank you for your question. Katie Dieterman, CFO. Yes, we would be borrowing money in the form of tax-exempt bond proceeds. The $1.4625 million is the interest expense in those for those beginning years, as the 5 years, on a $22.5 million project.
Okay. So explain to me then how, and I know this is an income statement budget, so you also you would have either, I guess, principal repayment also at some point. And explain how that works. Is there a deferral for a period of time, and then you have to start paying the principal back? Because that could add a lot to your cash flow needs when you start to fully amortize this.
Yes, sir. So typically, the principal payments would kick in after the construction period, and usually after year 1 or 2 of operations, to allow the school to fully mature into their enrollment. And so those would also be included in the debt service expense coming on in future years, with a slight offset in interest expense due to that principal decreasing in nature, and so the interest becoming less. So what you see here is principal payments kicking in after that initial 5-year ramp up.
Okay. Now, I think it'd be helpful as you guys move on towards this to have a presentation that also shows the amortization of the debt. Because that, your year-end balance of $263,000 could disappear rapidly with the amortization in there, and I know you're going to grow as you go. So just a point for that. And then the other point I had was, you're starting out projecting 753 students, and I know you've had good growth in Little Rock, but that's I guess the full load. So do you also have pro formas where you don't meet that goal? So maybe you have 300 students in year 1 and 600 in year 2. And how does that look from a budget perspective?
Sure. So Katie Dieterman, CFO. To answer the first point, so we did account for some depreciation expense in this budget, which would also, being a non-cash expense, kind of offset that principal payments as they come online with the amortization. But to your point, we're happy to present an amortization schedule for the loan. To your second point, yes, the 753 is a 93% capacity number. We would we also would do and have performers that are at a lesser percentage of enrollment. So more looking at what an 80% occupancy would look like. So of course, with those numbers, we're going to be closer to a break even in that situation. Kind of similar to what we're seeing in Little Rock for fiscal year 25. And then as Brandy mentioned, the enrollment growing this year into the 670s from a funded enrollment of 477 last year. So so a similar situation, so we would and we have pro forma that out as well.
So you said 80% would be break even?
Yeah.
Okay, that's a good number. Final question, in looking at your financial results in Little Rock, you have a loss, I guess, that you're projecting for the year. Is that a loss that was a big surprise, or did you kind of expect that? And I think it's normal to have losses in the, so I don't think it's unusual at all, but I just wondered if you all saw that coming, and how do you deal with that? Is that the school's responsibility to cover that, or do you all support that from a corporate level also?
Sure. Katie Dieterman, CFO. We are projecting a loss for fiscal year 25. There were some surprises, I think, in the beginning of the school year, as we alluded to, with regard to additional cost and initial startup supplies that necessarily weren't budgeted for or accounted for or forecasted. So in response to this situation with the loss, what has happened on the corporate side is we have subordinated the fees for the network support. So that then allows the school to have free cash flow to cover their operational expenses and support them through this initial ramp-up period, which we hope will come, or fully expect with the enrollment numbers we're seeing, to come to an end in fiscal year 26 that we're just beginning.
Okay. Thank you.
Dr. Bourne?
Thank you for your presentation, and thank you, Mr. Baldwin, for asking questions that I would never have the knowledge to ask. You would think you worked in banking, so that's very helpful. But thank you for your presentation, and thank you for your preliminary successful results in Little Rock. I do want to drill in a little bit to the 8th grade math scores, just because background in mathematics, a teacher, so that just really got my attention, because that was the one that the students actually declined, not even stayed steady. So could you speak to that? I am curious, and I've had to try to teach algebra to students who were really far behind, and it can be a real challenge when they don't have the foundational numeracy. But the fact that it went down, I'm wanting to know a little more about this, who was teaching those classes, if those are certified teachers who actually have the content knowledge to be teaching the algebraic concepts that are in 8th grade. So if you could speak to that, I'd appreciate it.
Yep, Christina Winters, superintendent. I hate to say this, but our teacher went on maternity leave, and filling that in is when we started to see the decrease. It was something that we missed, right? And it's going back to what Eric Greenberg was saying. We need people here so that they can be in the schools every single day and help track that data and see what's going on in the classrooms. As a superintendent, I was meeting often with the admin and going into classrooms when I could. Data, even a couple of days late, is stale and hard to adjust and make the changes when it's too late in the year, and that's what happened to us, and it's really unfortunate and unacceptable.
Okay, thank you for that information. It just speaks to the research that shows us nothing's more important than the qualified teacher in the classroom. So
Exactly.
Thank you for recognizing that. And then sort of along those same lines, I'm sure you're aware of the push, especially with the recent access legislation, for acceleration for students and those opportunities. And since you are a K-8 organization at this point in Arkansas, and there's not a high school with that, what opportunities are you ensuring your 8th graders especially, but also maybe even your 7th graders have to acceleration, whether that be early high school credit, particularly even how are you doing maybe that first year of CTE programs? Right. Could you speak to that?
So that is something that we did not have last year. And so I have my academic team in Arizona. I have one person right now that's completely focusing on learning everything Arkansas and developing those programs. Unfortunately, it wasn't in place last year. And so we are currently taking our students, as you know, our 7th grade, are now our 8th grade. So the students that are ready, we are working within small groups during what we call the WIN time. So our intervention is WIN stands for what I need. And so we're pulling them aside and giving them opportunities to work with higher level standards and being enriched. But it is an area of growth for us. And that I have someone on the team right now working on it. We're just talking about going through the list of the accreditation requirements, and that's something that stood out to me as a gap that we need to continue to grow. We are going to get to the point where all of our students need that, and so we have to be prepared, and that's something that we're working on now, to be transparent.
All right, thank you. And then finally, still a little bit along the same lines of high school talks, with you being K-8, is there any plan in the future of potentially having high school? And if not, what are your supports and plans for the students as they matriculate to the 9th grade?
Christina Winters, superintendent, will be handing that over to CEO Eric Greenberg.
Eric Greenberg, CEO. Thank you, Christina. I hesitate to give my answer since we are on record and being recorded. But to answer your question, we are going to be launching this fall, actually starting next month, launching a project to develop a high school program for Arkansas. We don't know when. I don't want to fully commit to a start date on that, but it's something that we're starting this fall after we get the school years going and settled. We have some individuals identified to bring on our team, but we do have an internal stated goal, I would say, to develop a high school program. We need to make sure that works for the families and communities in Arkansas, and we need to make sure that we can operate it with full fidelity. And so the need for us to lean on stakeholders in Arkansas is going to be very big. So we might reach out to some of you all for recommendations on those people and who we can contact and who we can get out and talk to. But again, I hesitate saying that. I don't want that to feel like that's a full commitment, but we have been talking about that since we opened the school, especially as we've gone into Fort Smith, looking at an area that's an area we feel really confident in developing a K-12. But for right now, we're gonna stay committed to K-8, but we do have the plans to develop something.
All right, thank you. And so along those lines, in that same question, for the ones who are completing 8th grade now in Little Rock, where are most of them going? Do you have that data to see where they're headed?
We are in the middle of receiving thank you, Brandy Adams, COO. Terrible at that. We have been receiving tri-end requests all throughout the summer. We haven't compiled to see where the majority of our students are going for high school, but I will say that last year the school was very aware of that transition need and did offer a high school night and invited multiple local high schools to come in and, let them know what their options were. So we were aware, since we didn't offer that ourselves, that was something we needed to help transition them through. I'm really interested to see that data once we finally pull it all together. Yep.
Okay. Thank you. That's all the questions I have at this time.
Dr. Bashir Duncan.
Yes, thank you for the work that you all are doing with Arkansas communities. So I have a question related to that. You're adapting to local needs, and you gave some really specific ways that you're doing that, particularly in Little Rock. What are some adaptations that you are anticipating, or perhaps already know exist in Blytheville and Fort Smith? And what are some ways communities are informing and helping you, or might help you respond?
She loves this.
So Brandy Adams, COO. I will say, first of all, I will acknowledge that this is a learning process for us all, and we are very cognizant not to come off like we know everything, because Arkansas, although we are very excited about the work we've done, is new to us. And so going into Blytheville has been absolutely eye-opening. We're dealing with a high-needs community there that's also rural. And so things like staffing, et cetera. What has stood out to me there overwhelmingly, we've always talked about needing a community school and having a community hub and activating community resources. The level with which that is possible in places like Blytheville it just blew my mind this last week. When I tell you that on the first day of teacher PD, Nucor is a steel company that's very large there. We had, would you say, Christina, probably 25 Nucor people at the first day of teacher PD handing out breakfast sandwiches and donuts and coffee. We had the councilman, Matt Perrin, was there with his wife, Cody, just to cheer on the teachers and stand. Sorry. Oh, yeah, absolutely. Randy Henderson, also a Nucor employee, very, very involved. I mean, we could just go down the list. That community is so primed and ready to assist. So my learning there has been that we have to sort of like ramp up that community involvement, get those players into the schools. So I think it's sort of like a process of educating them as well as the school staff. The community members want to help, and really our message has been starting to develop into, we don't actually want your money, we'll take it, don't get me wrong, but we want you in the schools. We want you coming to the classrooms, talking to them. I was speaking with a lady from Nucor who talked about her desire to come in and talk to students about professionalism in the workplace and what it looked like to dress and how to speak and how to carry yourself, things like that. So bringing in those community members and really having them interact with the kids just stands out, quite a bit. I think also when I'm thinking about how to adjust in these schools is probably, this is kind of funny, a reflection on Christina and I. We're very excitable people, and no, it's weird, I know. And we're just like, let's go. And so it's been interesting for us, like we need to adjust the way we approach things sometimes and understand that we want everything fast and everything quick, and sometimes we just have to say, okay, let's just kind of, make everyone be ready for us. We don't need to roll in there and steamroll the place. So I think that's a learning process that we're going through right now. And then obviously the staffing, I think we do need to change some of the way we go about our staffing processes and find more creative ways to attract staff. How do you highlight those smaller town opportunities for people to make it look attractive, I guess, to them? So it's so exciting and so much learning. So we're aware, though, that we need to make some adjustments to our typical operating procedures.
Thank you for offering those specifics, and I look forward to learning more from what you all are learning and how you're adapting.
Thank you.
No further questions.
I was gonna go with Newton.
We're talking about who gets to go first. Usually the chair goes first.
Oh, no,
She's very nice. Twice, okay. Can I just say one thing?
Yeah, sure.
Sorry. So I'm familiar with Blytheville. I ran a bank there. Christy Patterson is the president of that bank in Blytheville. It's a development bank that you all should connect to, and I would call her and try to meet her because she can connect you to a lot of folks in the community. It's a challenging city. Nucor mostly hires people from Tennessee because none of the local graduates can pass the math test. Yes, so it's a challenging thing, but you can be successful over there. It's a good town, and they want to do better. I'm sorry. Thank you.
Ms. Newton,
Yes.
do you have any questions?
Yes, I'm here.
Do you have any questions?
Actually, I did have a question,
Okay.
or just an inquiry. So much of what you said already has answered a number of my questions. Is there any way that you have conducted data or conversations or meetings to judge the interest in this proposed school in Fort Smith? I'm sure, certainly the population is there and the need is there, but do you have any any data to suggest, or have you had interest meetings or convenings or information? What's the groundwork that you've done there to suggest that, yes, the population is there, and yes, there seems to be a need, but what demonstrates that people are actually ready to push the button?
Yeah, hi, Ms. Newton. I'll take a first stab. I think Brandy probably has more specifics on this one as far as data. Eric Greenberg, CEO, back in, I want to say, the February-March timeframe, we did a 6-week marketing campaign. And we're very careful with those marketing campaigns because we're in kind of discovery mode. And so knowing that we're dealing with much smaller cities and smaller towns, we want to be very careful with our messaging so that we don't get people too excited and then we don't show up. Or we just don't want to give any false pretense. We did a 6-week marketing campaign in which we really emphasized who we are. We're looking to bring a new school, and quite simply just asked, are you interested? Provide your information. Over the course of those 6 weeks, we had a higher, so from a marketing perspective, we had a higher click rate. I'm trying to think of the right term. We had a higher click rate, and we had a higher lead form fill out rate than we did when we did our initial campaign in Little Rock, when we were determining where to choose Little Rock. We also compared those to our sites in Phoenix, where we've done those. Fort Smith was the highest performing initial marketing campaign that we have done. Additionally to that, we were getting leads in the single dollar figures, which these days, digital marketing, that's kind of unheard of. And so we were very intrigued and enthused by the reaction we got within a short amount of period in those 6 weeks. In addition to that, we have our VP of growth. He spent some time in Fort Smith, walking the area, talking to locals. Brandy and I were there over just a couple months ago. For some reason, we must have, outsider written on our foreheads. We went to a local burger place, and Brandy, I'm sure you remember the name. I don't remember the name. The owner came and sat with us. We talked about what we're doing. Super nice, friendly man. He has a great burger place, by the way. The fries are phenomenal. And he mentioned that the community would be very open to what we have to offer because, and once again, what we stressed was we don't want to be seen as an outside entity bringing a school and thinking that we know what to do what we do. It has to be embedded in the community with community-based roots so that, as Brandy mentioned, the community is bought into what we're doing because we need the community in order to build a community school. So from that perspective, Ms. Newton, from the diligence that we've done in our typical process of site selection, got very overwhelming results on our initial campaigns.
I know someone mentioned earlier about new core, and I know that industries and similar, not industries necessarily, but interests of the industries in the area are probably hyped about what the skills, what the focus of is at the school, and that's math and sciences. So I'm not assuming that you haven't, but clearly it might be to your benefit to visit with some of those folks that would have a potential for gain. I know the grade level doesn't suggest it maybe at this point, but certainly that's something that I know that if it were in my community, I'd look forward to gaining those skill sets or increasing or fortifying those skill sets.
I agree. I think that's a great recommendation. Thank you.
I don't have any further questions, Madam Chair.
Okay, great, thanks. Well, again, thank you guys for your presentation. It was very helpful to have all the detailed information on your plan and what's currently going on. And again, congratulations on having the opportunity to work with Bible. I hope I'm saying that right, I'm not sure. So we'll see great things there as well. I do have a couple of questions. And the one may or may not be for you, it may be for the charter office, but we'll see where it lands. So depending on which building you choose, you'll have either a 26 or a 27 start date. So once that process is determined, then what will be the next step? Will there need to be a come back to us and say we're starting in the fall of 2026? Or will you just proceed with, that once we do this conversation here, how does that work depending upon what building they choose? And I don't know if it's you guys or charter office or someone that would address that.
I'll address it on our end. Eric Greenberg, CEO. We are waiting for this. We have plans for both of them ready to go. In fact, we are, whether it's the trustee site or the open land, we want to purchase that land as soon as possible. What we mentioned when we first approached Daryl Smith with the option of getting on the CAP agenda today was because they dropped the price of that land by $300K. We've been watching this land for about 8-9 months now. We've gone and took a look at it. We've been into it multiple times, trustee additionally. When they dropped the price last month, we got a little nervous. We didn't want to lose it. It's a phenomenal price. Trustee, the local brokers have told us that the warehouse adjacent to Trustee has been making inquiries about purchasing the school and turning it into a parking lot for their warehouse. That gave us cause of concern. And so where we stand right now, we're waiting to get approval on this expansion. And then we are ready to start spending the money to look into and do a full inspection of Trustee, start working on the drawings. From our perspective, we were ready to just rock and roll. And then whatever due diligence is needed on our end to alert, whether it's the charter office, Mr. Daryl Smith, or come back to you, Madam Chair, with what we choose. But from our perspective, we were going to go 100 miles an hour right out the gate to make the right choice on where to go and then just start.
And I think Mr. Scott is coming to the microphone to also give a little bit more detail.
Freddie Scott, Office of School Choice and Parent Empowerment. I would be remiss to make a comment without acknowledging the fact that our Assistant Commissioner Daryl Smith is online. He's also has some health challenges, so I'd be glad to share out, assuming he cannot come off mute. If he can, fine. If not, I'll go ahead and share. All right. As a team, we're wishing him well in his health challenges. So what's before you is indeed a vote on a choice of, number one, do you approve the request, the amendment, add a location? The second part of that is when. That's probably legal to, at the end of the day, it would be a choice between starting, when they identify the location, that will dictate what year it would start. So one location, I believe one option was 26, 27. The other one was 27, 28. And at the end of the day, once the decision is made, the charter / contract will follow in line with that particular location, et cetera.
Okay. Sorry, my computer's trying to update that on that too. Okay. Thanks on that. So I guess I'm taking from that, I'm assuming that we'll see you guys again whenever you guys figure out the location. Okay.
Hey, can you guys hear me?
Yes, we can.
I am so sorry that I just broke into the meeting here for just a second, but I think if I caught the last part of that conversation, I'm Mr. Daryl Smith, Assistant Commissioner, Department of Education. That if we were talking about the vote, all we're really voting on is, do we give them permission to open up an expansion campus and then to expand their enrollment cap accordingly? That's your vote for today, along with the current waivers that they have with the Little Rock campus. And so if you vote to approve their expansion into Fort Smith, then it'll just be a matter of them reporting back to the office of the choice that they've made. And then we'll, as Freddie had just mentioned, then we'll make whatever technical changes we need to make to the contract at that time. But all we're really voting on at this point is the approval for them to expand into Fort Smith and to increase their enrollment cap by whatever the number was on the amendment request.
Okay. All right. Thank you for the clarification. I appreciate it. So then my second question, and like Dr. Moore, there's no way I could have done a deep dive into the financials like Mr. Baldwin. So I'm so thankful that we have a very diverse team on our skill set. But the question that I did have, just for my clarification and looking at the, where it's on, the FY 25 June year end, it was the deficit of the 318 and some, and part of the explanation was that unanticipated or under anticipated costs for like salaries and things like that, and that just kind of sparked to me. I just wanted to question, so and looking at your waivers also, are you guys, salaries for your teachers, are they in line with the LEARNS Act? Are they above or below? How is that? And then with that, because you had this shortfall or a deficit, plans in place as you go forward to accommodate that. Can you speak a little bit more about that?
Sure. When I made the, Katie Dieterman, CFO, the comment regarding the salaries being more, on the slide I was comparing the salaries for the fiscal year 25 June year end to the previous budget that had been submitted, just kind of the differences there from the most recent budget that had been submitted to the board for the most recent amendment. So the salaries did come in right about where we initially put them in the charter application, like within a percentage or two. The difference in some of the budget overages for fiscal year 25 was largely due to, like I said, supply expenses, and then there were some expenses on the special education front in that program that we weren't expecting because of the inability to recruit a highly qualified special education teacher. To answer the question regarding the LEARNS Act, our teachers are compensated above the LEARNS Act requirements. Okay. And I think that answers all your questions. Maybe I missed one, but the deficit moving forward, this fiscal year 25, our funding was based upon an ADM of 476, 477 in that range. Moving forward, we are expecting our ADM to be 650, around that range. Our enrollment showing over 670 right now for fiscal year 26. So with that additional enrollment, we are able, from an economies of scale standpoint, able to produce a surplus for fiscal year 26 and forward.
Okay, thank you.
Madam Chair, one more point of clarification. This is Eric Greenberg, CEO. Another surprise and unexpected occurrence, our executive director, who we had hired to lead the campus, unexpectedly and unfortunately went on a medical leave right before the campus started. And that leave was to be in at least between 3 to 6 months. We made the decision at that time, with her being gone, to hire a principal. So that went above what we had budgeted. So that's 2 pretty highly compensated leadership positions. So in addition to the special education that she talked about, that Katie talked about, and hiring teachers above LEARNS Act minimums, we wanted the school to be in a good shape. We hired teachers more tenured and a little more advanced in their compensation than we had previously budgeted. But the addition of a principal in addition to the executive director was an unexpected expense of ours, but we felt that was the right move to make for the school to have local leadership.
Okay, thank you. Thank you for that. And then my other question, probably my last question, unless something else. So I'm looking at a part of your amendment. You're wanting to be able to utilize the existing waivers you have on your Little Rock campus at the Fort Smith campus. And so looking through your waivers, one that kind of stuck out to me was your waiver for a school counselor. And looking at your grade band, you know, you're getting into those middle schools, 6, 7, 8. So beyond, if we're thinking about the mental health supports for our students, but academic supports, but then also that career counseling piece that needs to occur. Can you speak to us a little bit about what is currently occurring on your Little Rock campus, to where you feel that that waiver would be still relevant and effective at the Fort Smith campus? Again, how are you meeting all of those needs and for your students that are going to be there?
Yeah. So Brandy Adams, COO. Currently, our Little Rock campus has one school counselor in place. We did commit in our original, charter approval to be open to evaluate needs and see if there was an additional need for additional counselors. So far in the Little Rock campus, we have not heard that that is a need. Now, that said, to Christina's point, as we add those CTE components and things like that, we do anticipate that there may be a need to add staff, which, again, thankfully their enrollment has increased, and that allows us that wiggle room in the budget to add that if needed. When it comes to the Fort Smith area, again, we'll probably start out with that one counselor and let the need sort of dictate our next moves. We just wanted to ensure that we left as much room in the budget to, funnel into the classrooms, and didn't want to start off with the 2 counselors right off the bat if it wasn't a huge need. But we're very open to doing that if the data or even anecdotal information from the folks with boots on the ground says that it's necessary. Yeah.
So currently on the Little Rock campus, you do have a school counselor that is
Yes,
serving
we have
students.
one.
Okay. And your intent is to have a school counselor at the Fort Smith campus?
Absolutely one. I think the waiver allowed us to, I think the requirement was 2.
So is it more that you're for the
initially.
ratio, not just not
Exactly,
one and
yeah.
half one? Okay.
So we have them, it just wasn't at the ratio.
Okay.
Yep.
Okay. And then you mentioned CTE components. So what CTE components are you referencing?
I'm not sure, sorry.
Christina Winter, Superintendent. Thank you, Brandy. So that's actually something that we are in the process of developing. We do not have that formally built in with enough urgency and built out into the framework, but it is being worked on currently right now. So those CTEs would be, all those processes would be coming in there, and the curriculum, and we would be involving the counselor with a lot of that. Mostly right now, though, the counselor is there working with a lot of our high-need middle school students, like I said, to develop those relational skills and also walk those kindergartners in that were crying this morning. Yeah, so that is something that we're in the middle of developing.
Okay, so just for my clarification, so you said that your counselor currently is working with your high need students. Is it like behavioral concerns or?
Oh.
Okay.
Oh, yep. We have various ways of screening scholars when they have needs, and also pulling small groups, or if a teacher has concerns, they can go to the counselor and work with them as well.
Okay. So
sorry.
I'm sorry. So you feel like students that are not categorized as high need, are they still also getting
their
support?
access?
Okay.
Absolutely. We also have times where she can come into the classroom and present lessons on social skills and just things that they see throughout the campus. We monitor any kind of incidents or behaviors throughout the classroom to look for, or throughout the school, to look for trends, so that we can do teaching and maybe get ahead and be proactive about it so that it doesn't become larger issues. She also is just really good at engaging in the community. It's like, we've said that word 1,000 times, but she brings in communities. We have things like dads on duty that come in and support, so she leads the drive on that. We have someone in our academic team back in Arizona that manages all the counselors in Arizona, which is on a federal program, different than how this is funded, but he also works with her, develops her, and checks in with her and makes sure that she has what she needs. So he will also be one that would let us know if there's additional need for another FTE.
I'm just curious. I'm curious and will remain to be curious on the CTE components that you are planning to implement. And please feel free to reach out to our division so we can have those conversations, so we can support you through that process. Yeah. Okay. All right. Are there any other questions from panel members in regards to the amendment request?
I just have one more question, and you spoke to it a little bit, but if you could just a little more information. So you spoke to the importance of Tier 1 instruction that's grade level, even though they're behind. Could you speak just a little bit more to what your Tier 2 and Tier 3 supports look like, since they are that 7th grade? I mean, 4%.
8th grade now.
Oh, yeah, exactly, which is one of the most challenging grades for a multitude of reasons. Yeah. So could you speak a little bit more to that, to the extra
Yeah,
supports?
Christina Winters, Superintendent. So like I mentioned before, our focus really is all students right at this moment, right? Because even though our 7th grade was so low, across the board, as we've all said, it's not where we want to be, right? So we're really focused in on growing that tier 1 and building up those teachers. However, we absolutely have an MTSS coordinator, and so whether it's a parent or a teacher or the data suggests that we need to get them into the MTSS process to provide those tier 2 and tier 3, we do follow the MTSS process. Along with that, we have every single one of our classes receives that win period, so that what I need intervention period. And so they are working within those groups, using the data to build small groups, do reteaches. We use the NWEA assessment as well to provide us some data for grouping and where the gaps are so that we can provide that additional need. And then as they go through the MTSS, if those tier 2 and tier 3s aren't working, that's when we would do the MTSS would suggest evaluation and potentially get us into either behavioral supports that come in, or working with the counselors, or bringing in our special education department as well. So it's a very robust, same person on the academic team that works with the counselor is also the person that monitors our MTSS process to ensure that nothing falls through the cracks on those tier 2 and tier 3.
Okay, and so in a new location in Fort Smith, would you be starting that same model?
Absolutely.
And have that same role?
Absolutely, we do that across all of our campuses.
Thank you, I appreciate that.
So, that did pop another question into my mind. So reflecting slightly back on the question that Dr. Moore had earlier, and I know that we asked the question, I just want to make sure I have a good understanding of what that looks like. So I know that you have, or you're working with having supports in place, again, for students that we know needs a little bit more scaffolding and supports to be successful, but we'll also have students that will come in that will be, you know, at a point to where either they, with a little bit more lifting, will be advanced or are advanced.
Right.
And so what does it look like for them when they come in?
Right.
Because what I'm hearing is that there's support focus on those that are high need, but there are students that come in that maybe are not high need and need to be supported so they can be advanced and be ready to go. It's math science school, and so they're wanting to go into those higher level math and science courses. What does that look like for them?
Christina Witcher, superintendent. That is actually the beauty of that period that we call WIN. So again, the WIN stands for what I need, and it doesn't necessarily mean what I need to supplement at a lower level. We absolutely understand that there's kids, we have kids that are on grade level or just about there, or in fact above grade level. So at that time, they would go to an intervention period that's focused on the extra. And so we have an enrichment group that they would go to. Sometimes that might be a novel study group. It might be a class that's hitting higher level math standards of the grade level before. So it's more like if you've seen like a younger grade, you often hear walk to read. So kids will walk to the levels that they need to do. That's the beauty of our middle school. Our 5th through 8th grade all has that period at the same time. So higher level math kids can walk to the classroom that's going to be providing some higher level math practices, where kids that may struggle or need additional support, they would go and they would work in their groups with the smaller groups and get their intervention. So at all times, everyone is being moved to that. We are anticipating that we will be bringing on that opportunity for Algebra 1, higher level science classes, looking at bringing that biology and that physics into the classroom, and that's what we are building out now, because we know that our kids are going to grow. We know that we're heading towards proficiency, and we don't want to wait to build something out for them. So it is literally being built out right now by the academic team in Arizona, so that we have that when it's time to go, we're going with that. Okay. So, but we do use programs like, IXL and other things that are available we just try really hard not to make it an online program. That's often what happens, right? Kids get stuck on a laptop or a Chromebook for intervention. And so we really want to get back to those high, rich conversations, the math conversations where they're doing real practice in the room. It's not just, let's hit the next standard. It's, let's think about it differently. So they might be still working on 7th or 8th grade standards, but they're doing it more in a real life component and really pushing, how can we take that to a DOK 3 or 4 in this classroom versus what gets us to just the test level.
And then, last question for me. So, as we're looking at those pieces, what's in place, or in Little Rock, and then what will be in place at Fort Smith for students to be able to have those connections between their academic and their career goals? Because we haven't talked much about that,
Yeah.
what that looks like for a student when they're in your system, how to prepare them for transitioning into high school, life after high school, those kind of pieces.
Yeah. Christina Winter, Superintendent. I think that goes back to the beauty of what Eric was talking about, of having a team that's focused on Arkansas, and what Brandy alluded to, of as we do love being here and growing and all the opportunities, but it has been a learning opportunity for sure. Our executive director that Eric mentioned that was here and opened our school did a lot of the digging in and building of those programs, and unfortunately she was ill and had to leave, so we had to I had to come in behind after that and learn. I was learning a lot of the Arkansas components, and that's where we're at right now. Is still we did the learning this year, we're doing the developing now, so that we never get ourselves caught in that situation again. So that when we are ready to open Fort Smith, hopefully in 2026, or if it is 2027, that stuff's already in place and we never find ourselves in that situation again. That when a kid is transitioning into high school or needs to be enriched, that's already there, and it's not something that we're building out. So.
Right. Any other questions from any panel members here or Ms. Newton online? Okay, good. Okay, if there's no further questions, then I will entertain a motion on the amendment requests of Academies of Math and Science, keeping in mind that their request is to expand into the Fort Smith campus, increase their enrollment, and also maintain their waivers for what they currently have in Little Rock for their Fort Smith campus, if approved.
So I would make a motion to approve the request as presented to add a new K-8 campus in Fort Smith in the fall of 26 or 27, depending on the decision on the property, and to increase the AMS Schools Arkansas enrollment cap of 750 to 1,560, and to maintain all waivers.
Second.
Okay, I have a motion by Mr. Baldwin and a second by Ms. Stewart. Is there any discussion on the motion? Okay. Seeing none. All in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, nay. Okay, ayes have it, motion passes. Thank you.
And best of luck being in Arkansas for 4 weeks during the most humid part of the year, coming from
Especially-
Arizona.
Especially in Blytheville, if that's where you're going.
We're heading back. We got a house.
Yeah.
Big back to school event. If you guys want to come over.
Yeah, God bless you.
Do we need to take a break, or do you want to plow into the next one? What is this? You guys sure? Okay, good. Okay, next on our action agenda, we have the open enrollment charter amendment request from Garfield Scholars Academy for a school relocation. Mr. Scott is going to come forward and give us some details on the request.
Freddie Scott, Office of School Choice and Parent Empowerment. Panel before you today is an amendment request on behalf of Garfield Scholars Academy. It's right in line with their original application and contract to change the location from their existing location to a new location, with the details spelled there. On behalf of Garfield Scholars Academy, we have in person here Dr. Melanie Kinnan, and joining the team remotely is the Superintendent Cheryl Harrison and Joy Sawyer.
Okay, before you begin your presentation, all those giving testimony today on behalf of Garfield Scholars Academy, please stand and raise your right hand. Those present in person and those online, please. Do you swear that the testimony or statement you are about to give is the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do. Yes.
Right, great, you may begin.
Good afternoon. Melanie Kennan. I'm the CEO and board chair for Garfield Scholars Academy and for Garfield Education Foundation. I'm one of the co-founders of the school, along with Joy Sawyer, who is online. We are coming to you today, and we appreciate your time that you've granted us to seek an approval for a move from our temporary site at the First Baptist Church in Garfield to a more permanent existing Garfield Elementary School building for the 25-26 school year. I'd like to convey to you the circumstances surrounding this unusual request to move so close to school beginning. In June, we had a visit from the state fire marshal at the church and to do the annual inspections. And he relayed information to us that was quite upsetting, that we would have to make significant costly changes to the church buildings used for student instruction. And that would include installation of a fire alarm system, firewalls in the attic space, painting, paneling with fire-resistant paint, a lot of repairs that, in fact, about over $100,000 worth of repairs in a temporary site that all along we had intended to move out of as quickly as we could. We weren't sure whether we would get resistance from the church leadership. They had so graciously housed us over the past year, and so we began to seek out and look for other options in the community. Shortly after we were given this news, I was contacted by the mayor of Garfield, Gary Blackburn, and a local donor who proposed buying the existing elementary school from Rogers School District, who had abandoned the school in 2024, and it had sat vacant. And this donor proposed donating it to the Garfield Education Foundation, which is a 501c3 that was created solely with the mission of oversight and financial help for the operation of the charter school. We were thrilled. We immediately began to look at our budget because we knew that there would be some additions in things such as utilities for the larger building. And we put pencil to paper and figured out we could handle it. So after multiple negotiations with Rogers School District, Mr. and Mrs. Stanley Williams closed on the school building for $675,000, and that very day signed it over to the Garfield Foundation for use for Garfield Scholars Academy. It just happened to be on July 18th, the day after the CAP board met. So that's why we're here at this meeting. The foundation will lease the campus to Garfield Scholars Academy for what they had been paying the Baptist Church $1 a year in rent, and it will maintain oversight of that, the buildings and the campus. Knowing that the school was scheduled to start in August 20th, we began to make lists of what needed to be done right away to get it ready. Once the community of Garfield found out that the neighborhood school would be open again, we began to see an outpouring of help, and both financially and in labor, and materials to make necessary repairs. People have come with paintbrushes, wrenches, and buckets to paint, clean, and repair what was needed. Local businesses have donated time and talents to get the school up and running. We began employing various fundraising strategies at the foundation to make certain that we could support Garfield Scholars Academy long-term in this location. We have had to date, and I need to update this for you, we had in donations and in donations pledged, to date we have $187,233.72 that has been donated to the foundation for use at the school. When we looked at utilities, because we're small, last year we had 75 students. We've grown to 95 students as of today's tally. We paid about $20,000 in utilities last year to the church to assist them with the extra utilities that we would be using. In looking at past records of Rogers School District and what they paid in utilities at the front two buildings that we'll be using, that amounted to about $28,000. So about $8,000 difference between what we paid last year with 75 students and what we'll be paying this year with 95 plus students. Local businesses, as I said, have donated time and talents. We have reworked the school. Before handing in our budget in July, we reworked the school budget knowing this was in the works. And so we added that additional utility money into our existing school budget to make sure that we could handle it. We expect that the word has gotten out, and we expect that our enrollment will continue to grow, and hoping that we'll have over 100 students back in their home school. The community is strongly invested in this school. We are planning August 16th a back to school alumni bash so they can see what we've done and open the school back up. The community has been a very strong support, as well as the mayor and his team. It's just been unbelievable. This location move will allow us to serve more students. It will allow us to expand in the future to 7th and 8th grade, which was part of our original charter application. And it will allow the community and the parents and families in that community to have a neighborhood school again. And that's a priceless thing. We have also, as a way to assist us in our marketing and also our getting support from corporate sponsors as well as continued local support, we have contracted with Charity Engine, which is a nonprofit CRM, customer relationship manager, that will help us to make sure that our brand gets out there, our story gets out there, because we believe we've got a strong story that tugs at the heart, and that we can continue to serve the kids and the families in Garfield and the surrounding areas with high quality education, which we believe strongly that they deserve.
Okay, thank you. Okay, Mr. Schultz, do you want to come forward and let us know if there's any legal concerns in regards to the request?
Thank you, Madam Chair. Daniel Schultz, Chief Legal. No concerns.
Okay, thank you. Okay. With that, we'll go to CAP questions. I'll start with Mr. Baldwin.
Okay. No real questions.
Okay.
I think when you came to us last time, when you were moving to the school, you had hoped that eventually you would have, moving to the church, you hoped you would have the school building.
Yes,
It's
sir.
amazing how that's worked out.
Yes, sir.
And it sounds like you've done extremely well, and the community is very supportive. So,
Yes.
job well done.
Thank you.
Dr. Moore?
All I can say is I think all other charters are very jealous of your lease agreement.
We have really been blessed.
Yes, that is amazing. And so I have no qualms at all about the change in location. I did pull up looking at because I didn't see it in here and it might have been in the packet, I'm overlooking it. But can you speak to what your assessment results were compared to when the elementary school was under the other school district?
Let me, I'm going to defer to our superintendent, Cheryl Harrison, for that information.
Thank you.
Yes, hi, Cheryl Harrison, I'm the superintendent. We have different students than they had at Rogers Public School. We have homeschool students from the area that came back last year. We have some students from Pea Ridge, so I'm just real cautious to compare our students to Rogers Public Schools, but we do like to look at the state data and compare us that way. And so I was looking at our 3rd, 4th, and 5th grade data, and it's really interesting to me, our 4th and 5th grade, because we're so small, they were a split class last year. And so this says a lot about, reaching all students. Our 4th grade in all areas beat the state average in math, English language arts, and science, but our 5th graders were below. So we have some work in reaching some students and finding out, what makes them tick. Our 3rd graders were below this year, but we also had several of those students were homeschooled before they came to us, so we felt like we had some catching up to do. We had data on the beginning screener for kindergarten, and our kindergartners in English language arts were slightly below the state average. The state average for on track was 36%, and ours were 26%. And in 1st grade, the state average was 38, and ours were 33%, so we felt pretty good about 1st grade. 2nd grade, and this feels like it's across the state, 14% on track, and we didn't have any on track at that point. We had several at risk. So we are going to be looking at our growth data and finding out what we need to do to meet those students' needs. And that was English language arts. In math, it's always a different story in math. Kindergarten, the state average was 67%, and our average was 74%. Ready? 1st grade, 61% at the state level, and 50% at our grade level, or at our school, 1st grade. And 2nd grade was 70% at the state level and 40%. So again, 2nd grade, for us is definitely a challenge. And so we have a lot to aspire to.
Thank you. And to be fair, I'll ask you, what are your intervention plans since you have so many students?
Yeah, very, very good. Last year we started with a program called Boost, and I just kind of wanted to address it's a lot like what I need, the win time that they spoke about earlier. We looked at screening data that we had. We also gave our own screeners. We put students in groups according to ELA and math, according to what they needed. So we did have some 2nd graders that actually got to go up to 3rd and 4th grade in English language arts, but it just didn't translate to the state test. So I'm hoping that it's just that initial testing issue of Atlas and everybody getting that under their belt the 1st year. So we do, as a team, meet weekly and we collaborate, and the beauty of having 75 or 95 students is we can talk about all students every week and what they need and what teachers are doing. And we have a flexible schedule and we can move those students wherever they need to be. Small groups, other classrooms of teachers that are, they're highly effective in that area.
Okay, and just one last question, because you just intrigued me on it. You mentioned you had a lot of formerly homeschooled students. Roughly what % of your students were homeschooled? If you have that,
I don't have that number, but I will tell you this. I know that a lot of them, when they found out that their original school was closing, they went to homeschool because their local school would have been downtown Rogers, and it would have been quite a bus route, and so we do know that there were a lot that came back last year and joined us.
Okay. And do you know if those are the students who struggled more in the performance or even anecdotally?
Well, and that's going to be something. I'm sure that was an indicator. We're going to sit down as a staff next week and look at every child and all the data and find out. You know, we use the state blueprints which were the expected standards, but we need to go deeper. And so that's something as a staff that we are going to really work on.
All right. Thank you. Go ahead.
I'm sorry, Cheryl. Okay. This is Joy Sawyer, and I'm the COO and co-founder, and I'm here in the building quite a bit. So I do want to add that one of the reasons we haven't really looked at that data super close right now is because since it came out, we've been in, all hands on deck. Now we have a school building mode. But I will say that we also truly believe that we did the very best we could in the environment, that we were in last year. And while we are so blessed to have the church that, allowed these kids a school, we know that being in an actual school, and in that environment, it's different for kids. A lot of the kids that attended school here last year also went to church here, and so the same areas we were having school in were the areas that they were, playing in and having Awanas, and things like that on Wednesday night. So I think just having that mindset, switch of I am at school is also going to be a huge benefit for us this next year.
All right, thank you. And congrats on the community involvement. I mean, that's what it's about. I just can picture them all going in there and painting things and getting it ready. That's awesome. So I hope you took pictures and videos to share at some point.
We've got some really cute pictures of some of our kids in there. They are so excited. This is a historic building, and it has a gym built, onto it. And we have had kids in there every single day playing in that gym while their parents are, helping with
and
everything.
they had a lemonade stand last
it's very
Saturday
exciting.
outside and raised $1,000 to donate for their school. So so there's huge. I mean, we've had plumbers come in and say, I'll check everything for you. People who have come in and sprayed for bugs and not charged us a thing. And I mean, the community support has been unbelievable.
As I was listening to the others, I started a list of all of the partners, the community partners that we have seen so far. And I want you guys to know, a gentleman walked in our office and said, I want to do your lawn care for the year. Somebody else came and said, hey, I've got a storage container in my backyard. I used to install LED lighting. I'm gonna update all of your ballast and give you all brand new LED lighting for the year. So that's been done. The entire front side, main part of the building has been painted. Every classroom. We had some plumbing issues that they have come in and fixed. The HVAC guy has been out there. We have 16 units that come with this building. He has put a brand new thermostat on every single one of them. He has only charged us for the materials. His work has been in kind. We had a community partner donate a refrigerator for our lounge because we all know how important that is. The security guy not only gave us a break on the price, but he has donated some of his labor. We had a gutter guy drive by and say, hey, these gutters need to be repaired. Can I do it for you? Of course you can. Dirt work on the playground. The propane people have come out and donated. There's been drywall and flooring that's been repaired at no cost, and the building has been sprayed twice now for bugs, and that will continue throughout the year. And that gentleman's dad used to be the principal out there years ago. So this community, I think that's almost every business in Garfield has done something, and that is that does not include the very generous cash donations, you know, that we have been given in the last 4 weeks. So we do count ourselves truly blessed. About 2 weeks ago, we set out a thing and said, hey, we're gonna do an Eagle sponsor, and you can sponsor one Eagle scholar for $100, and that's their supplies and field trips and everything for the year. And we've had 4 people just come in and write us a $100 check to sponsor a child that would not be able to afford those things otherwise. So we are just, and we haven't even put that out, you know, like on social media. It's just kind of been word of mouth. So we are super excited, and we hope you guys will approve the move.
Yeah.
That's awesome, thank you. Dr. Bashir Duncan.
Yes, thank you. It's really great to hear about the community outpouring of support. I'm just looking across the room and people's eyes and reactions. So I don't have any questions at this time, and I look forward to hearing how you're continuing to leverage such an incredible community to support your school and your students and families. Thank you.
We strongly believe in community ties and in supporting families. If we support families, then we're supporting our students, and we know how important that is. And so getting them in our doors and feeling welcome and feeling a part of the team for their student, that's how you move students, that's how you grow them.
That's core. Thank you.
And just want to remind you for the record, if you would always remember to restate your name.
Oh, I'm sorry.
You're fine. It's hard to remember, I know. Ms. Newton, do you have any questions?
No, I'm not. I don't have any questions at this point.
Okay, thank you. Dr. Bacon?
What was the line from Jerry Maguire, you had me at hello? The last 15, 20 minutes have been so unnecessary because when you started, you had me. You know, I joined this panel because I believe that it's our job to help parents and families identify, build, create schools and learning environments where their kids can be safe, where they can be challenged, where they can succeed and be set up for success in life. And so thank you for the work that you and the ladies here on Zoom with us are doing. I guess I really only have one question. Are there any houses or property for sale in Garfield? It sounds like a place that maybe I need to move to.
It's the place to be, absolutely.
I mean, it's unbelievable.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, congratulations.
In fact, I believe they're building, Joy, you can get in on this. I believe they're building a new 250 homes
Wow,
in a subdivision up there. So,
unbelievable.
yeah, there you go. Move to Garfield.
Oddly enough, about the same time that Mr. Williams decided to buy this building, the Planning Commission in Garfield was meeting on someone who wants to build a subdivision there. And so I called the mayor and I said, absolutely, you're going to approve that, right? Like, absolutely, we're getting a subdivision. So I think that this area is growing, and I'm committed to starting a basketball team again. So y'all watch for the Garfield Eagles basketball there.
Yeah, that's right.
Thank you.
Ms. Stewart?
I don't have any questions either. I just feel like this is what a way for us to end the day today. Thank you very much. The stories and the feeling of community is something that I think we all agree is what it's all about. So thank you for what you do in the community, and big kudos for how you brought the entire community together for this.
Thank you.
Yeah, thanks for making our day.
Again, I don't have any questions, but I just want to thank you guys. Like Mr. Baldwin said, I remember when you guys came before us and we were trying to work with you on, you know, facilities and being able to start your charter. So it's definitely very good to see you guys here today saying that you have the community support, and greatly appreciate what you are doing for your students in the community as well. I was trying to sit here and figure it out. Is there a way that I can teach a class and say, yeah, this is an annex of Garfield. Just come on down and clean my gutters out and paint my sites. But no, very excited to hear everything you guys have accomplished, and looking forward to seeing great things and understanding if you're bringing students back in that have been homeschooled for a while, trying to close that gap. You may have a bit of a challenge there at the front end, but we look forward to hearing how you guys begin to move the needle for those students.
Thank you.
Are there any other questions or comments from the CAP members that we need to address before we move forward? Okay. Hearing none, then I will entertain a motion to accept Garfield Scholars Academy amendment requests to move their locations for the upcoming school year 25-26.
I'll make a motion that we approve Garfield's request to change locations.
I second.
I have a motion by Dr. Bacon and a second by Dr. Moore. Is there any discussion on the motion? Okay, hearing none. All in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, ayes have it, motion passes. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Okay, that's all on our, okay, that is all on our action agenda. Don't start packing up. We do now move to our consent agenda. So the presenter for that is Mr. Scott. And looking at that, what's on our consent agenda are the minutes only from July 17th. So if you would just take a quick moment to review those and see if we have any revisions to those minutes. Has everyone had a chance to review? Are there any revisions that need to be made to the amendments at this time? Hearing and seeing none, do I have a motion to accept the minutes as they are written?
I move that we accept the minutes as written.
Any discussion on the motion? Any second on the motion? Sorry, second.
I second that.
Okay, very good. Any discussion on the motion? Sorry. Okay. I have a motion by Ms. Stewart, a second by Dr. Bashir Duncan. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, nay? Motion passes. Do we have any public comments that we need to address at this time? Okay, there's no public comments. So with that, if there's no further business, I will entertain a motion to adjourn.
I so move.
Okay.
I second.
Okay, I have a motion by Ms. Stewart, a second by Dr. Moore. All in favor, aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, ayes have it. We're adjourned.